Ocean Park. It's a huge amusement park, famous one in Hong Kong. Today we have this event. They basically have like a startup week, so there's going to be a lot of events going on from today. This is our opening event. They're having a seminar on influencer marketing. Okay, so up on the mountains, pitch competition was being held at like an aquarium where you could see sharks swimming, and it was mainly pre-seed startups that are still creating their MVP. So one of the startup I was listening to was a startup where they recommend sport gears for B2C users for the app. Pretty interesting. So I'm heading back now and leaving the amusement park for another meeting with the active investor here in Hong Kong.
3 hours later.
So I had a very nice coffee meeting with venture capital. The surprising thing is that two things. One is that apparently like in Hong Kong, having a venture capital isn't very common here. A startup here, if they were to get investments from like an investor here in Hong Kong, it's apparently really common to get like funded from like a PE fund or like corporates, for example. And traditional VCs are pretty rare. There are only a few here in Hong Kong apparently. The second thing is that my image of Hong Kong was that just like in Singapore and many other Southeast Asian countries, I thought they were actually getting more investments from China, apparently, especially because they're close. And the thing is that there are a lot of venture capitalists and investors from the US, the Europe, and other countries. Another thing was that was interesting was that so there are a lot of unicorn startups here in Hong Kong, but they are mainly from almost like half of them are like fintech startups. So Hong Kong is a very famous for doing financing stuff. So a lot of banks here, and it's a hub where they can actually connect with other countries like financially. So in that sense, there's a lot of fintech startups too. Also in logistics, because Hong Kong has been famous for trade too. They do have startups related to trade and logistics that became unicorns before. So those are two biggest industries that startups are doing well here in Hong Kong, and they're the number of their unicorn startups is like close to 10. So it's a very active. It does have a very active startup ecosystem. But the thing is, what's interesting is that so in Hong Kong you have to so it's not a huge country with like a huge number of population. So just like in Singapore, there's always this need to expand overseas, and I thought like going to China was common, but apparently it's not the case always. Apparently there are a lot of startups that look into, for example, Southeast Asia. Well, obviously, like I'm sure, like in some cases, many startups go to China too, but from what I heard was that it's not too common because China has their way of doing business, and there's always this political risk.
I met with this another big investor in China, and he says every time before he invests, he has hot pot with the founder. Why? He has hot pot with the founder and the founding team, so that he sees how the founder treats his team. Is he doing the meat for himself? Is he hoarding the sauce? Is he serving Is he serving his team tea?
I had some very nice insights from the Health Tech conference. So there was a session where you can ask many questions to these like 3 venture capitalists active in Hong Kong. So they explained on how it's important to really do research on foreign products. I think this is with any industries, but understanding what products are out there overseas as well, not just your own local market. Because at the end of the day, like they're expecting you to globalize and be able to provide the service at like the countries that have like the top tier the healthcare technologies, like in the US or maybe in China or Europe. So basically they expect you to do that. So it's very important to know the global market at like the early stage, and know your competitors to really like learn if you're going to be able to globalize at some point, and learn from the competitors, because there's usually like a similar or maybe a same product that's already produced or served in some other country. So you should always they were talking about that you should always like do research on that and like learn from their mistakes and learn what's good for them. So also talked about how which sorts of startups they would like to invest in. They were talking about how they would like to invest in a person who understands the history of their product and their industry. So for example, if it's a product for diabetes, they were talking about how they should be able to like explain the history of curing diabetes, the cure for diabetes, because you're going to have to understand the history in order to develop and know what's going to be a solution in the future as well. So also they talked about whether the founder knows how to like sell, and they have like a legitimate go-to-market strategy. And because they explained to me how for healthcare it's very complex. The main client isn't always like the patient. So you can always it could be the doctor, it could be a medical institution, or it could be a distributor or things like that, and it depending on what you sell. So that's one thing they expect you to know. Okay, so now I'm at Vision by the harbor. It's a huge mall. So they basically exhibit these tech for more than a week. It seems to be there's a number of startups exhibiting. It's a Saturday, so not many of them are here. So this is WaterGen, a company that provides drinking water, and it generates water from the air. They're a material startup, and they create materials from bamboo waste or tea residue. This is another startup from Hong Kong called Gens. If you put that on your body, you can actually diagnose if you have a chronic disease like lung function and kidney and all that. You put this on your waist, this thing on your waist, and you walk. It gives you like signals physically on like where to go and if there's an object in front of you. So it's like this. It scans your environment and it calculates clear paths and unseen hurdles. So this is a startup that allows robots to collaborate for applying it to like engineering, construction, public transportation, and smart cities and things like that. So this company called Sandbox VR, they provide many VR games, and they're even partnering with Netflix for Squid Game. So it seems to be pretty cool. So I'm gonna actually try it out. So this startup was founded by Steve Zhao. He's originally from Hong Kong, but this startup is based in Silicon Valley. It's been founded in 2016, and they are already in their Series B round. Oh my god, I just finished the VR game. It was super fun. I couldn't believe it. It was basically a Squid Game, and there were 3 games, and we compete. I competed with strangers, so 6 players, including myself. I was actually surprised that a VR game could be that fun. I see many bio startups. This one here is uses 3D medical imaging for diagnosis, and this one uses MR for surgeries. So this is a technology for fertility treatment. So this is a startup that generates cells, for example, like tumor killing T cells. So this startup basically you put this thin skin patch and it senses your sweat. So basically it monitors your health conditions through your sweat. So this Fleming Med Lab Limited, they provide wearable robots for people who survived from AIDS stroke and rehabilitate and regain cognitive functions. This is another seed startup from Hong Kong that provides solution for 3D printing. So Enertime, they have it's a gesture-based fitness gaming platform. So it's cool how in Hong Kong there are many companies that have interesting services related to entertainment.
Hong Kong has set a clear target to reduce our carbon emissions.
So they just had an opening ceremony. It was very interesting because the lady she talked about the government trying to use hydrogen for your public buses or something. So Green Beans is a startup from Hong Kong as well. It's an auto sorting recycling machine. So you basically put in your garbage here, and then it will sort automatically if it's a PET bottle or a can or whatever. So I just talked with Mondo Green Energy Limited. They're basically creating solar panels that are that have a more fancier design, and they can actually customize the design, and they actually implemented it to a church here in Hong Kong, for example. So that's pretty new. They also provide safer solar panels that won't fly away and that won't be damaged from winds, for example, because in Hong Kong, typhoon is a very common problem here. So there are some pitches going on as well now. Okay, so this reverse pitch event was run by Pitchflix. It was a startup from England and from London. So basically it's like Netflix for pitches. They were actually running this event, and many of the Hong Kong VCs were going to pitch at night, but unfortunately I have another meeting from now, so.
Driver, can you share your journey?
And then you can also put it on drones, you can also put it on robots, the models. So you can use
Those footwears that we don't really need.
Be more accessible and also sustainable.
Okay, so for the prop tech event, I watched a pitch session by 4 startups from Hong Kong that provide prop tech solutions. It was interesting because two of them provided services that are related to analyzing the current situation of construction sites and manufacturing, and 2 startups were basically material startups, so they basically provided alternative resources for construction. One was graphite, and one was this material you could get from worms. So it was pretty interesting. Alright, so there's going to be this robot show because of this startup event going on at this mall. So these robots, hardware itself isn't made by a startup, but the management system and the software to move these robots is made by a startup called R2C2.